News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbreth with darkoakmedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian. I'm just going to leave it there.
Okay. No snappy retorts today, Max? Okay.
No.
He's saving them.
Yeah, he's saving them for later. You can call or text us anytime at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And we also invite you to go to Tool Talk Radio on Facebook and check out the action over there. There's already about 3 posts up there, Allan.
Mm-hmm. We've been busy.
We've posted we posted the must-have item of the week. We've posted links to a couple of discussions we're going to have today. Allan, it's going to be a rich, I've got to be careful not to over-tease because it's going to be one of these shows where it's going to be a very dynamic discussion.
I think we're going to use the word diverse.
We got a great voice message that we're gonna kick off the show with momentarily, Allan, because I don't want to say triggered, but it launched a big discussion between us, and I may get triggered. Careful, if I'm not careful in this, but it's something we feel very passionate about, and we're gonna dive into that. Allan, check this out. So, we've been rotating our great moments in building history.
We have.
You've brought us stories. Max has brought us stories. I've brought it. Well, it's my turn in the barrel this week. I'm bringing us what I would call a triumph of carpentry, and it's Viking shipbuilding. These are my ancestors. These are your ancestors, too, right now. I mean, they go back.
Once removed, yeah.
Once removed. And if you're talking about pure carpentry, pure function, artistry, durability...
It's the perfect trifecta of what to do and how to do it.
Once removed, does that mean that's the amount of heads that you've had to remove?
Easily.
So we're gonna get into that. Allan, we have some interesting science all about solar reflective paint. We've got a Critter Wars for the ages. I feel like and we posted the video for this, folks. If you can't wait to find out what our Critter Wars is, go check it out now. It's on our Facebook page. And Max is going to chip in with another one of his idioms for idiots. We haven't had one of those for a while, so he's got
about time. Yeah,
he's got kind of a nice little cutie there. So we're going to do that. And trust us, folks, we've got a list of other things that I'm not going to mention because why bother, Allan? We may get to them and we may not. And of course, like I said, we'd love to hear from you. You can get in touch with us during the show. You can call or text us at 901-683-0989. And I know who this person is, Allan. I'm looking at him right now. They're sitting they've got their phone in their hand, and they're like, I think I might call the show. Well, no, I don't want to call the show. Just call us. We want to talk to you because sometimes I think people just they're hesitant. They think I don't know what, Allan. They're going to disrupt the flow of the show, but we enjoy your conversation.
Disrupted enough.
Was there ever a flow to begin with?
Yeah. So if you're on the fence, get in touch. We love to interact. So all right. Well, Allan, speaking of listener interaction, we've got another caller request, I guess you could call it. This came in on my phone, Allan, because during the week you can leave your messages on my phone number. Go ahead, Max.
Hey, guys. A big fan of the show here. I recently bought a house that's older and need to do some construction work and kind of don't know where to start. I'd love to have a discussion with you guys about contractors, about the ins and outs, the pros and cons, and maybe how to get started of hiring a contractor, what to look out for when you're dealing with contractors that may not be licensed or may not be that great. There's a dime a dozen, and I'm just kind of going through numbers here and things in my head, and I don't exactly know where to start. And also what to look for in a really great contractor, maybe what's on their website or questions that I can ask when I talk to them on the phone. But all that would be very helpful. And I've got my notebook out and I'm ready to take notes and love to hear what you guys have to say about it. Thanks.
Wow, Allan. Nothing to see here, huh? Oh,
okay,
my gosh.
So next week's show, when we get to another topic.
Yeah. Wow. Well, dear listener, this is a great call. And we discuss this from time to time, Allan. Probably not as often as we should, but let's I have my own thoughts about some of this, Allan. Do we want to start? I've got a whole list here of the positives and the negatives. I don't know if you want to intersperse them, but what I did want to make one stipulation. All right, go ahead. What were you going to say?
All right, I was going to say I'm going to point out the kind of the stereotype of the phone call.
Yeah.
Because that is actually oddly a bulk of who is actually out there looking. It is normally a woman who has bought a house, inherited a house, moved into a new property or something like that. I just find that in the last few years, I have dealt with far more women on projects than I have men.
Well, and when I'm happy to see that a lot of women are taking on home improvement project. They're out there tearing that wall out and adding the kitchen and doing all this stuff.
I had a property owner this week, a woman, we're going to say in the grown-up category. I don't want to give her age, but in the grown-up category, utterly fascinated by what she hired me to do.
Yeah.
So it didn't really turn out to be so much I was hired to do something as it was I was hired to teach you how to do this.
Right.
And was a great experience for her. We got everything installed. Everything was to her satisfaction. But that was just the first thing that struck me is the person looking for the contractor is a woman buying property, moving forward. And I find that absolutely exciting.
So here's what I want to say, Allan, because I'm thinking of this in two categories. I'm not like we've got our good buddy Larry Brown from Brown Refrigeration. Well, those that type of business, you're dealing with people, they have to be certified. They have to have
must have licenses,
certification, licensing, and all that. So it's easy to determine somebody like Larry Brown's qualifications if they show up. So I'm not really interested in that kind of a contractor for this discussion, because I'm thinking of those contractors where you don't know. Like I didn't have to go to college to learn how to build decks and patio covers and things like that. Painting contractors are another one that stick out in my mind. So I'm thinking of those contractors where it might be that you don't know. You're dependent on roofing. Yeah. Well, I guess that's true. I mean, although Jay Hill with his operation. So.
Right, but there's a lot of, handyman, quote unquote, handyman services that, have that written on the side of their truck. And
I guess handyman.
They may or may not be GAF certified, or they may or may not be, that trained in what they're supposed to do.
So how about this, Allan? Let's do this. If you want, we can go. I don't want to just hit all the negatives out of the gate, and I don't want to hit all the pots. So why don't we just kind of maybe
bounce them around a little bit?
I'm going to say this right out of the gate. Let's just suppose you're hiring them and maybe you've got a little carpentry work, a little painting, maybe just some minor electrical. You want some light fix. Okay. So there are people that do that. I do that,
Right.
So I'm a big believer in trusting your gut reaction. And just on the initial thing, if there's something where somebody comes up and they make a good impression or a bad impression, maybe even in a very subtle way. Maybe they gave your dog a dirty look or something. Like, I don't know. Keep that in the back of your mind. Yeah. Trust that. My second thing is look at the vehicle they pull up to the house in. If the bumper is hanging off, being held up with a bungee cord, or if they say, hey, we're going to do some roofing, and they pull up to your house in a little whatever that has nothing really to do with that.
And a Volkswagen Bug.
Yeah.
You've got not going to a whole lot of roofing in that, are we?
No. But I got a whole checklist, Allan, and I figured you and I can just kind of go back and forth here.
I'm going to start with ask. Ask around. Ask around work. Ask people you know and trust if they've had similar work done and who did their work and what did they think of the finished product.
Right.
I think a referral, while it is no guarantee, past performance is no guarantee of future performance, it is a really good place to start.
Well, and what you find is because referrals are at the top of my checklist here, Allan, because for one thing, it's okay if you want to ask for a reference, or if somebody, your best friend had their driveway done, or they had their, they had a porch cover put on, and they give you a reference. Well, you can also get references from other customers. There's almost like a little chain you can follow. They could say, well, I got that number from such and such, and you can almost trace it back and I would honestly get about 5 or 6 references if possible for this one contractor, because everybody's experience may have been a little different. Hank may have been a little off on that job three jobs ago or something like that, so.
And every contractor out there has their favorite type of job.
Right.
So if you were kind of, and this happens sometimes in the commercial world, it's the, oh, by the way.
Right.
Well, I got the crew here, and while we have them, by the way, why don't we have them look at X?
Right.
Well, X may not be their favorite thing to do or what they're actually stocked and prepared to do. So the side job you threw at them on the, kind of on the sly may not be quite as well done as the primary feature.
Right.
So if you were having new floors put in and, but I also have this hole in the sheetrock, they may be amazing flooring guys, but they may not be so hot on sheetrock.
I hate that when Allan and I are thinking exactly alike. That's next on my checklist, Allan. If you've got a guy that shows up and they're saying, can you do this? Oh, yeah, I can do that. Can you do drywall? Can you do this? If they walk in there and they do every kind of service in the world, I like people that sort of specialize, that are, maybe they do 2 or 3 things. And if they come in and they say, well, I do like a patio cover, but I usually stay away from roofing, or I stay away from that. I have more respect for that, because usually it's hard to specialize in everything. And the other thing to keep in mind is, even if they do, it's hard for them to keep a staff of that. A lot of what you're going to see here is this guy doing all of it themselves, which is fine. I mean, I do a lot of my work myself, but you have to be prepared for that. What that means for you in your schedule, it's not going to be like Jay Hill. They come in, they literally will replace your roof in one day. They got a whole crew.
Yes.
They have a whole system.
It
I don't
looks
want
like
my
a
roof
SWAT team.
I don't want my roof dismantled for 2 months at a time. I want it on and I want it off. So. That's what I would say about that.
I was working with a crew this week, and we were changing out a nurse's station. Mm-hmm. And this is a complex series of events. This is when you work in something like a restaurant or a hospital or something like that, it makes what you do in the home look like Tinker Toys.
Oh, yeah.
Because of all the regulations we have to meet.
Sure.
And I have a crew that this happens to specialize in doing these kind of retrofits.
Right.
And honest, they took 36 hours, and from the time they rolled up and went, all right, we're tearing all this out, to here you go, Allan, it's all yours, was 36 hours.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, but it's because that is what they do.
Right. They didn't come in and say, we do these 50 things. We do this.
No.
Right.
We do this.
Right.
Now, it was a complicated thing because they also had to do flooring, and they had to make sure the electrical was, to medical code and to all these things. But each guy has his thing he does.
Right.
That's Bob. He does the electrical. This is Mike.
Right.
He's our flooring guy. And these two over here, they're the carpentry that are going to get the cabinets back up.
Right.
And the fun thing is, if you can, with a contractor, ask to visit a current site.
Yeah, now you're talking.
Now you walk up,
and if they're credible, they'll let you. They'll say sure. Yeah.
Now you'd have to be there quick if you're going to catch Jay Hill's guys doing a roof.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not going to show up at 3 and catch them up there. They're done and having dinner.
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with asking, do you have an active site somewhere that I can just drive by and take a look?
That's a good tip, Allan. That's a very good point. Yeah.
There is so much. When you see a well-oiled machine, even if you have no idea what they're doing, you know when things look smooth.
Oh, yeah. You can tell. Right.
And you
can
know
tell
when it looks like a Three Stooges movie.
Yeah. That's a good tip. I have another one, Allan. So do they have a website? And I would also make a caveat. Do they at least have like a Facebook or a social media page that they promote on, showing their work, showing how you can contact them? A website is almost like a business card these days. I mean, everybody's got a website.
Everybody has one. Nobody goes and looks at it anymore, but everybody has one.
But if you need to, you can send them there. Are they licensed and insured? Are they destroy your the back side of your house, is that covered? And ask to see that it's current, because you can have a certificate, but if you don't check the date carefully, it could be, be expired, and that's just sort of standard. You definitely want somebody to protect you. But the other one, I think this unrealistic promises is one that I see a lot. I'll see some, because I'm on jobs where, like I said, I'll be building this job that I'm on is a perfect example. I'm building, I built her a patio cover. I did all this work outside. And now I'm helping to sort of coordinate some interior remodeling, like bathrooms and stuff like that. So I'm dealing with contractors that are coming in, and I'm helping her. I'm sort of being the general contractor on that. Well, when you get somebody that says, oh, man, we can come in, we can do this, we can do that, we start, and they make promises that seem very unrealistic, and they set unrealistic expectations to be that kind of smacks of desperation. Like, I need this job, please hire me. I'll do whatever, you know what I mean? But when the rubber hits the road, Thursday. It doesn't happen.
No.
Yeah.
Another thing, all right, to dovetail into that, I'm going to throw in a phrase every homeowner needs to know.
Yeah.
Scope of work.
Explain that, Alan, because that's a
scope
very
of
good
work
one. Yeah.
Is where you need to very, very specifically write down exactly what you want done. Not we need, all right, I love the instructions like, well, we need to redo this wall.
Yeah.
All right.
What does that mean?
I can drive a Mack truck through the words, we need to redo this wall, as to what that means.
Mm-hmm.
No, I want this wall sanded, caulked, flat. I want this color paint put on it. I want this color trim. You need to lay out a punch list that is the exact of scope of work you expect to be done. And don't forget stupid things like electrical outlet covers.
Right.
Gouges. Do you expect them to paint the wall, or do you expect them to mud the little holes and nicks and stuff? I hate to say it, but with some people you deal with, you need to be very specific. And if you have a punch list, you now have something to walk up at the end of the job and go, did you do the trim? Yes. Did you do the holes? Yes. So you can run down the punch list, and everybody knew exactly what you wanted to be a finished product.
Here you go, Alan. You and I are thinking alike. Put in bold letters, put everything in writing.
Yes.
Literally. And it doesn't mean it's war and peace. We don't need we don't need 30 pages of instructions, but if you're in whatever area you're working on, it is just basically a list, like you said, bullet points of everything that's going to get done. Because on payday, when it's half finished and they're like, well, I'm looking at my notes here, it didn't say that I'm supposed to do that. And verbal conversations are great, but they mean nothing in the big scheme of things. You got to write everything down. I'm going to just go for it out. Here is my biggest red flag of any of these. And it's if somebody comes in and they request a large down payment before they've done any work. And I'm talking like I've seen painters where they'll come in and they say, well, we want 50% down. And then they just disappear from the job or something like that. Or I'm saying if somebody just wants a lot of money up front and before they've done anything, unless they're in a situation where they're actually manufacturing something, like perfect example, like Shelf Genie, they manufacture all of the parts first, so they have to, and that company's well established. Right. I'm talking about Chuck in his truck. If he shows up and he needs half of the thing for the, that's the perfect recipe for somebody to just disappear, or and also it loses their motivation. You want to keep them motivated to finish your job as quickly and efficiently as possible. Right. And as soon as you give them money, now they're like, oh gosh, I'm not going to make that money. It's bad. It's a bad situation.
Well, I'm going to say also have a sense of the size job. How much stuff do they actually have to purchase before your job gets started? Well, we're putting in new counters and new sinks. Well, guess what? You're going to put some money down up front because that counter ain't cheap, and they got to order the sink, and they got to get all that stuff in before they start tearing out your kitchen.
Yeah.
All right, labor is one thing, but the actual hard materials, and in many cases, the non-returnable hard materials.
Right. I have no problem with that. If somebody's if they're doing a kitchen or something and they have to purchase material, it shouldn't come out of their pocket up front.
Right.
I don't. It's labor. Don't pay for labor that they haven't done.
Exactly.
You know, and I would say as a final thought, think of hiring if you're not sure, but they seem like they're going to work. Just hire them to do a small job to test them out.
Mm-hmm.
Just see how they do on a, go remodel this closet for me.
Yeah,
If they do well, then you build on that.
Let's clean up this deck and let's see how you do.
Yeah. So we'll probably have a few parting thoughts with this, but this great phone call. This is the kind of stuff that This is the stuff we're looking for, and we'll probably have a couple of parting thoughts with that. But Allan, when we come back, also I'm really interested in your science story, solar reflective paint.
Oh yes,
It's going to be interesting. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio here at News Talk 98.9 The Roar, Memphis. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I haven't seen you fellas since you destroyed my home, my land, and my rocket.
News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis.
You're not the contractors that the caller was looking for.
No.
Amen, Max. Yeah, I've heard those conversations.
Dude, I was the life safety inspector on that.
Absolutely. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass.
Next to the rocket wreckage.
Right, with a very apropos rejoiner for us. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And, of course, we invite you to go to Tool Talk Radio on Facebook. That's our handle, whatever you want to call it. But and interact with us there. There's already some good stuff up there, Allan. We have our must-have item of the week posted. We have a science story, which we're going to get to shortly, posted. We have, a story that we didn't tease. And we may or may not get to it this week, but it's definitely going to get in it's going to make its way into the rotation.
Oh, yeah.
You want to see that? Jump over there and check that out. So, but Allan, I just want a couple parting thoughts. You know, we had a great caller during the week, folks. We should clarify. You can text the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline any day of the week. It can be in the middle of the night on a Sunday. It doesn't matter. But if you want to leave a voice message, you need to leave one. If it's not during the show, you need to leave it on my phone, which is 901-921-7105. We had a great voice message from a listener. She had just bought a house. She's like, how do I navigate hiring contractors? You know, you've heard the horror stories. You've heard, you know, and I think we gave some really good tips. A lot of it, I'm going to underline it over and over again. Be very careful when people want a large down payment for labor. We've clarified that, Allan.
Yeah.
If they have to go purchase materials, that's understandable. But if if they're saying we need 50% down for the labor that we haven't done yet, no, I'm sorry. Set up a payment schedule for that makes sense. I can tell you with mine, I basically I get a payment once a week for the labor that I've actually finished, and that seems to make people very comfortable, and it keeps me paid, but it also just gives me incentive to keep going, you know. So
Absolutely.
That's what you need. And also one thing, I don't know if we mentioned this or if we drove the point home enough, but if they come out and look at the job for you and it's like, well, I'll get you a quote shortly, and it's 2 weeks later, just dump them. If they don't get back to you within, I mean, honestly, a lot of times you can at least get a ballpark of what the job's going to cost in the initial visit.
I go with the words the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Within
Everybody
24
needs
hours, they need
right.
Now, I will say this in fairness, lumber prices and material prices are up and down. However, you can still give them a best case, worst case scenario within 24 hours. If they don't do that, I would probably move along. So, And folks, if you've had any really good experiences or any negative experiences, feel free, like I said, to share those on the Big M Roofing and Remodeling hotline, 901-683-0989. I'm sure there's a lot of other points we could have got to, Allan, but we got too much to get to on this show, so it's time to move along. Allan, you've got a really interesting story for us.
Hail science!
Can't wait. So what do we...
Well, I am a huge proponent of what I like to call the Club of Done and Pragmatism.
The Club of Done.
The Club of Done.
That sounds like one of your Scottish ancestors.
It does. It does.
Okay.
It sounds like the weapon that the ancestor used, the Club of Done.
Yeah,
once you use it, it's done.
You know what? You are dead on the money there, Max.
Yeah. Okay.
I love it when somebody goes, all right, pragmatically, we have an issue.
Okay.
All right, what are we going to do about it? And then they turn around and go, aha, now it's done.
Okay.
And I'm going to salute of a company we talk about with some regularity, GAF, the roofing guys.
Absolutely.
They've actually gotten involved in a variety of other, I'm going to say, semi-related issues to the roof and heat.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
All right.
Jay Hillhouse has a lot to say about that.
And has
it's not just keeping the rain out, it's keeping the heat regulated. Yeah.
Well, you find out that what you thought was the most important thing winds up actually being a minor consideration.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Well, then we find out, no, really, it's the exposure, it's the heat, it's cooking your roof, it's doing all these terrible things.
Yeah.
Well, directly related to that is an experience known as the Urban Heat Dome.
Ah, the Urban Heat Dome.
Now, this can be seen every single night when you watch the late night news and they talk about the temperatures.
Right.
Because they usually give you the temperatures, the outlying areas around the big city, and then they give the temperatures of a couple of spots in the big city.
Right.
So here,
can I give? Sorry, Alan.
Dive
But
right
I'm gonna.
on.
Okay, folks. If you're new to Tool Talk Radio, if Alan piques my interest, I have this habit of interrupting. Only because, for one thing, Alan, I'll forget. Also, when I'm excited about a topic, I want to mention. But I have perfect anecdotal evidence of exactly the phenomenon you're talking about.
Okay.
When I lived in Chicago in the summer, I was in the suburbs. We were about 20, 25 miles outside of the city. Well, it's like trees and suburb, gardens and things like that. And at night, if we're young, we want to go downtown to the city. And there was a noticeable difference when you left Glen Ellen, Illinois, my hometown, and you got downtown. It felt warmer. Sometimes it could feel 10 degrees warmer.
You are exactly correct.
And it's you're right in the middle of buildings and concrete and all that, trapping heat. Right.
That stuff was exactly that. It's a heat trap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So here we have this experience where. And again, I'm going to pick on the Mid-South. For those of you who live outside of the Mid-South, we recently had an extreme heat peak. Now,
I feel like a lot of people did, but you're right.
We're not the only ones.
We had a
Trust
weird
me.
summer.
We had people in Chicago panting at 95 degrees.
Right.
We had an extremely lengthy peak of heat. Well, being in Memphis proper, it was a good 5 to 10, and on some days, 15 degrees warmer in the proper city as it was on the surrounding areas.
Yeah.
Being in the Mid-South, we're quite green. However, when you go to the Arkansas side, we're quite agricultural. So there's a lot of big fields. There's a lot of open ground. So what do you do about this? Well, GAF said, well, let's look at paint again.
Right.
Now, we've had reflective paint. This is nothing new. We've been painting the top of buildings, the top of RVs, that kind of stuff with reflective paint for decades because it does bring down your electricity bill.
In other words, because I know black paint, because it's dark, it absorbs more heat than white paint because white has, I don't know, scientifically, I'm sure you could explain it. But but when you're saying absorbing, it's to keep it from getting into your home. Or
It's to bounce
it out.
Bounce the thermal energy off of it. And we've now seen with thermal blankets that look a lot like aluminum foil that thermal energy can be reflected rather easily by very thin substances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, now several companies, including GAF, have begun making different colors of reflective paint.
So you don't have to be boring because
so
for a
now
while,
now it's not that top of the camper white anymore.
Right.
And because of that, you're able to, be creative, paint designs.
Well, now it's no longer a functional thing only; it's a decorative opportunity.
Out in California, they have a city out there that has said, all right, look, it's the Paco. It's what is the name of the city here?
Well, I thought it's an area of L.A.
Yeah.
basically. So yeah,
It's the Pacomia project.
Okay.
I want to make sure I gave the shout out to the project. They've painted over 1 million square feet of parking lots and other big heat absorbing traps.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about instant gratification.
Sure.
Drop the temperature by almost 10 degrees.
Well, I mean, think of these basketball courts. Think of parking lots. Think of
your electricity bill.
Right.
If instead of cooling your home from an ambient temperature around your home of 95 degrees, you're only cooling it down from 85 degrees.
Right. Yeah.
That is a dramatic savings in energy, money, your grid, other resources. Of what an amazing idea.
Well, it's sorry, Alan, but it triggers more ideas because I'm like, okay, well, right now they're testing this out by painting large areas of concrete and parking lots and everything. Well, it doesn't it make sense that if you live in places like California or Arizona or Las Vegas, well, you're going to start painting the outside of your homes with this stuff and buildings and everything. Why not? Right? It's if you can. Because it's going to make the building more energy efficient. It can look any color you want. It's the decorative element is there, and it's functional. It's one more thing to combat, using more fuel, more electricity, more resources.
And in my mind, I looked at this and I also kind of flipped it a little bit and went, a variety of companies are now making solar trapping shingles.
Well, GAF's right in the thick of things with that.
Yeah, they're already looking at Tesla Corporation as a solar roof. GAF has now developed a solar roof, and several other companies are coming online very quickly.
Right.
And I'm going, all right, so here we go. We could be reducing the ambient temperature around us with a nice reflective paint. Mm-hmm. So like I said, the big basketball court now has a really cool mural on it, and it's 10 degrees cooler than it was.
Right.
That's awesome. However, the buildings next to it could have solar trapping window panes generating electricity. The roof of the building could be generating electricity.
Yeah.
So suddenly we're kind of looking at this, and I always go back to let's talk money. Because
you need to make it financially. Need to give people motivation to do this, and businesses, if they look at it as an opportunity, it's there.
They don't step on Jim Shoemaker's show.
Well, I think Jim would be happy about this because you could save this money for retirement instead of spending it immediately on just paying your electricity bill.
Yeah, I think that's the key. We've said this all along. Recycling, solar power, all of these things. There are. If the business model is correct, there's financial incentive to do this, and then it cleans up the planet. It just makes us.
I always go with there's the philanthropic idea that we're going to leave a better planet for our grandchildren and like that. Of the immediate greed in me goes, did my electricity bill come down any? Because full disclosure, I got a brand new roof this year, and Joe, I didn't get quite the results you did, but it went down.
Well, my house is different, and I think I have a lot more roof surface than you do because
I don't have anywhere near as much. But
my bill has gone down about $50 a month.
I did see about a $20 to $30 drop. Yeah. So I mean, as technology is moving forward, because now we're talking about all this solar, we're now talking about getting rid of excess absorption in the neighborhood, and of course, we've already talked about house batteries,
right?
And once we have that, I'm going to throw in solar farms because once we have house batteries, and this is not a future thing, house batteries are happening right now.
Yeah.
This is not something that's going to happen 5 years from now. I fully expect to see a house battery at a big box store within 18 months.
Yeah. Oh, can I, Alan? I want to set something up though here real quick because sometimes solar gets a bad rap. People go,
right.
Solar is this I don't know, it's expensive. I can't afford the house battery or whatever. Well, at the moment, it might be, but you have to head the right direction. Here's my question: is there any bigger source of energy in our region of the galaxy than our own sun?
No.
I mean, the sun is cranking out all this energy. It's pounding us every day with all of this resources, you could say, if we have the brains to use it. So I'm all about solar. I feel like that's the direction to go. I mean, just keep it's almost an inexhaustible amount of energy, and we don't have to dig up our planet and dig holes and pull oil out and everything. So,
the misnomer is that we're all one day going to be off the grid, and that's probably never going to happen.
Not totally off the grid, but lessen the,
Well, but
more
we're getting a
independent.
smart grid.
Right.
This is where, a lot of people were fussing at MLG&W a few years ago by changing out all of the meters on the houses.
Yeah.
Well, that was step one towards getting towards a smarter grid.
When you say smart, go ahead, Al. Sorry. I've been interrupting you too much, but tell us what you mean by a smart grid.
All right, a smarter grid is less like water. All right, water, we have a pumping station. It sends water under pressure to your house. You turn on a faucet. You never send any water back.
Right.
All right, with electricity doesn't store in a tank.
Right.
We generate electricity, and electricity is used. We either use it at capacity or we turn the generator back to capacity.
Right.
So generators really don't store stuff. So once we have house batteries, now you actually have a reservoir of electricity.
Right. And a more efficient battery. They will get more efficient, people. Every battery gets more efficient the more you develop it.
Every year, it gets better and better. So at some point, you're going to have one of these.
Right.
Joe, at our age, I'm going to look you dead in the eye and say, at our age, we're probably going to have a house battery.
Oh,
and if I cut my eyes over here to Max,
yeah,
he's definitely going to have house batteries, probably a solar roof, and he's probably even going to get a check periodically from the electric
selling
company.
back his because he's a cheapskate. So
he is. He doesn't run water much, anything. He's really thrifty.
Yeah.
But you think about a beautiful fall afternoon. Your AC's not on, your windows are open. It's absolutely beautiful. The sun is beaming down, and your house could actually be making more electricity than it would use.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, with a smart enough grid, your electric company could buy that electricity back from you.
There you go. Yeah.
Now, talking about a business opportunity, this is where a solar farm gets really interesting, because now excess power from one area can be sold to another area that needs it.
Yeah. So, well, it's funny, Alan, because here's what I was thinking of, and I think we were discussing this off the break. If you play this scenario out, okay, you've got shingles that are absorbing solar energy and putting it into your smart battery in your house or powering your house. You've got heat, what do you call it? Solar reflective paint on the side of your home, minimizing the amount of heat that's actually getting into your home. You've got possibly solar farm. If someplace in Arizona is, it's like a sun farm there. I mean, it's always sunny. That you could have solar farms there capturing energy. And what if it's got to pump energy up to Seattle where they get no sun or anything like that?
It could happen.
A smart grid may be able to do that. It can distribute energy in all sorts of interesting ways. So, and I mean, look at all the things we've been able to do with technology. We've sent people to the moon. We've sent things, probes to outer space. I feel like this is not beyond our reach to do this. And if you make it financially beneficial for everybody,
exactly,
it's a win-win. So,
well, and I think the pragmatic approach to looking at your house in a slightly different way these days of, our caller this morning just bought this house, and she bought a pre-existing house. She didn't have one built.
Right.
And the thing is, when she gets ready to sell this house 5 years from now, what technology will have crept in to that house by then that will just be a standard part of it?
Right.
It wasn't that long ago a house didn't come with a refrigerator. Now we can't imagine a house without a refrigerator.
That's a good point, yeah.
It wasn't that long ago that you didn't have a dishwasher. Now, most people would be absolutely abhorred of it. Horrifyingly was really not that long ago that central air didn't exist.
Yeah, that's the biggie right there. Yeah, because that was and homes were designed differently back then,
So, as we looking forward of the earlier question about hiring a contractor gets more interesting because we now have hot water tanks that are tankless.
Yeah, absolutely. So
this is not science fiction. This is not something in a movie. This is something for sale at any plumbing company in town.
Yeah.
You can call any professional and say, hey, I'm buying this house and I'd like to go tankless before I move in.
Right. Yeah.
And congratulations, you could have a tankless system when you move into the house.
Yeah.
This is going to become the normal.
Well, it's going to be interesting because even in my short time as a contractor, well, I say short time, 25 years, I've noticed when you go to the paint store, when you go to the big box store, there's all these rows of products that didn't exist. Or like it used to be you went in, it's like here's the exterior paint, here's the interior paint.
Right.
Do you want latex or oil based? That's about it. Now there's every kind. Do you want mildew resistant? Do you want the
what additives
low
do you
VOC?
need? Right.
Do you want whatever? Well, at some point soon, very soon, you're going to walk in and go, I want the solar absorbing paint. I want all that.
I want a reflective additive popped into my exterior paint.
Yeah.
So it'll resist mildew, kill bugs, and
reflect and make my
solar
house
energy.
function cooler. Pretty awesome story, Allan. So we're definitely going to be following this story with great interest. But I think, you know what, Allan, this is a perfect time to reflect on our good buddy Jay Hill with Big M Roofing and Remodeling, because he is in the thick of this stuff.
Yes.
He's already he's a partner with GAF. That's who, he's a master elite installer. He is a 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau and Good Housekeeping. And he told us he's already been to seminars learning about these solar shingles, which they're here now, and they're going to be a pretty standard thing in the very near future. Yep. The technology's here. Well, Jay Hill is probably, he's also into remodeling. He's going to be dealing with all of this. And so you really could not get a better partner than Jay Hill when it comes to roofing and remodeling. He's in he's involved with the latest technology. They install roofing systems. And of course, the great thing about Jay is that he's also a former insurance agent.
Yes.
And so if you have any issues where you may have the roof replaced by your homeowner's insurance, well, Jay knows all of those protocols. Right. He's and he knows everybody in town as well. So top-notch craftsmanship and that expertise. But the other thing we need to mention, Allan, is, as Jay told us the last time he visited, he also has financing available.
Yes, finally.
He has a relationship now with 30 different lenders. So no matter what your credit is, there's a solution for you. And it's kind of cool now because you may make an application for financing and get 8 or 10 approvals, and then you pick and choose which one works best for you. So you really cannot do better than getting in touch with our good buddy Jay Hill. You can call him directly at 901-484-5645 or go to bigmroofingandremodeling.com. And it is going to be neat. It's seems like every time Jay comes into the show, he tells us something new. There's always some new development, and it's kind of cool.
Technology in this particular area is so important because it is about the preservation of the most valuable thing you are probably going to purchase in your lifetime.
Right.
Your house is the major investment of your life.
The roof protects it all. So, well, Allan, where did this first hour go? I don't know. It's gone. Well, we have some juicy conversations when we come back. We're going to kick off the next hour of the show with great moments in building history, and it's a triumph of carpentry, building Viking shipbuilding.
Oh, yeah.
You're listening to Tool Talk Radio here at News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We'll be right back.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
And welcome to Hour 2 of Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And we invite you to go to Tool Talk Radio on Facebook and check out the action over there, including our must-have item of the week, which has already been posted. A story that we haven't teased yet, Allan, because we may get to it and we may not. We'll get to it. We may not get to it this week. But if you want to be in the know, head over there. You'll see that. But we also have kind of a funny Critter Wars that I feel like we have to get to, Allan, because it's just too cool. So, coming up shortly, we're going to get to really one of my favorite segments of the show, Great Moments in Building History. Before we do that, though, Max we haven't had him chime in with one of his idioms for idiots. Are we still calling it that, Max? Or are we calling this
Might as well.
Okay, or deep cut?
I get to play the deep cut music, that's all.
But Max likes to track down the obscure, so go ahead, Max.
So today we have the etymology of the term raining cats and dogs.
No. You know what's funny about that? Everybody knows, okay, well, it's raining hard, but... So there's you trace the lineage of this famous saying. So
precisely.
Okay.
So I'd like to start by you were saying, you got a cutesy etymology. Well, this is not cute at all.
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna put
Alan's
it out
rubbing
there.
His hands together.
I'm gonna start with the one that's maybe a little cutesy.
Okay.
It's one of the common beliefs is that in olden times homes had thatch roofs in which domestic animals such as cats and dogs would like to hide. And so in heavy rain, when the animals would either be washed out of the thatch or rapidly abandon it for better shelter. So it would seem like it would be raining cats or dogs.
Come on! So you got a whole herd of cats up there, and the dogs. They're hanging out in the roof, but it washes them out.
Well, think of it. You got 4 to 6 feet of thatch. Some of these old homes look like bristle cones. You have the big building, then you have the thatch roof, and the way you thatch a roof is you keep adding layer and layer and layer of thatch. And some of those are really, really thick.
And so I want to tell, I guess since I teased it, I guess I could also mention the more morbid one. And then I'll end with one that's actually a pretty good segue into our great moments of building history.
Okay.
So the second one is believed that that in one time the streets of British towns were so poorly constructed that many of the cats and dogs would drown whenever there was a storm. So people seeing the corpses floating by would think that they had fallen from the sky, like the proverbial rain of frogs back in ancient times.
Jeez. Okay. Yeah, history smelled and was kind of
When did we
morbid.
talk about why they were called brownstones?
That's
right.
That's a story
its own
for another
conversation.
time.
So that's another. Okay, go ahead, Max.
And then so the last one I want to mention is a perfect one, and its origins are mythological.
Okay.
Because cats were often believed to have influence over storms, especially by sailors, and that dogs were symbols of storms or the winds, and often accompanying images of descriptions of the Norse storm god Odin. So when some particularly violent tempest would appear, people suggested that it was caused by cats who brought the rain and dogs, the bringers of the wind.
That's interesting. I never knew there was this much. I thought it was just somebody like I don't know, somebody with some real colorful language came up with that. I didn't know there were practical reasons for raining cats and dogs.
I mean, there's Jonathan Swift who wrote a complete collection of polite and ingenious conversation in 1738. And then he once wrote in that, I know Sir John will go, though he was sure it would rain cats and dogs.
I mean,
so you have a complete quote right there, but there's still the more interesting and obscure origins for raining cats and dogs.
Well, Max, you dwell in the you love this stuff, don't you? It's like a treasure hunt for you.
Yeah, there's actually a fourth one that's even scarier.
What's that?
How did you get you're raiding the neighborhood village?
Yeah.
How did you run people out of it?
Okay.
Let's just say you trebucheted or catapulted nasty, disgusting things over the wall.
Oh yeah, isn't that how the Black Plague started?
And you would it was raining. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get too, I know it's breakfast time for a lot of people, but I just, if you ever smell like a rotting chicken carcass in the garbage or something.
Now
I can't imagine
500 pounds of that flung over the wall. Yeah. Yeah, as I love to say about human history, it is neither tidy nor did it smell good.
All right. I don't know, man. Well, Max, that was good, and I guess we better move along before we get to anything more unpleasant.
Yeah, tell us about something that smells better than that.
All right. Now, here's somebody who would never catapult dead animals over
Not
your
yet.
fence. No, this is not part of his business model.
No,
Larry
thank
Brown
goodness.
with Brown Refrigeration. He'll really appreciate
Yeah,
that
he's
segue.
gonna love this segue.
Probably one of the worst segues ever. But sorry, Larry. But I'm using the hand I was dealt with. Hey, but Allan, seriously. Now, we were talking about contractors earlier in the show. This Larry Brown and Brown Refrigeration, they check all the boxes you want. Do they have a website? Yes, they do. Do they have years, 40-plus years of experience and of credibility and of a client base? I mean, they've been around
And
forever.
great referrals.
Great
Oh, my gosh.
referrals. They're rock solid. And it's really just a great business culture and technicians that are trained, certified, and really it's funny though, Allan. Somebody can be trained and certified doesn't mean that they're necessarily the most interesting people to talk to or whatever. But Larry Brown, somehow he attracts the best.
Yes.
You deal with his technicians all the time.
I
Don't
do.
you? I mean, you got them on speed dial.
I really do. I'm on danger pay.
They're kind of fun to be around.
When I have to get something up and going now,
right,
they are my go-to.
Yeah, they answer their phones. It's
Yes,
not
they
just
do.
the technicians, and it's not just Larry Brown. It's the people in the office.
Yeah, their culture is amazing.
The culture is amazing, and they've been around forever. And there's the confidence of when you have an HVAC issue, they're there, and also they're we've been talking about the latest technology. Well, they're always on the cutting edge of. I dare say, back in the day when he started in HVAC, they didn't have the smart home system. I mean, that's a development that came along, and they embraced it, and now you can control the temperature of your home. You can control a lot of features of your home from the smart home system.
Can you control the smells?
Well,
yes, you can, Max.
As a matter of fact, the Remy Halo system.
That's right.
I am a huge fan of UVC technology.
Absolutely.
It's just amazing. It's basically a little sunlight goes into your ventilation system, and all organic materials, including bacteria and viruses, die and don't come back out.
Yeah, and so it's not only putting out clean air, it's putting out air that cleans. All these little cleaning particulates, these microscopic things land on your counter, and they clean the germs. And in this era where we're still talking about COVID and things like that, it's a good way to combat it. Also, let's just face it, we live here in the Mid-South. We need clean. There's pollen.
We got pollen.
We got plenty to deal with, and so we want you to consider. It's not just calling when the thing breaks down either. It's a relationship, because they keep your system maintained and running at peak efficiency. And a nice quality train air conditioning or HVAC system, it pays for itself, because that's something you will notice. You're going to notice. Your energy bill going down, and just your home feeling better and functioning better. And like we say, you can control it all from your with the smart home system right from your phone. So get in touch with the good people at Brown Refrigeration. You can call them directly at 901-362-1881 or go to their website, brownref.com. All right, Allan, here we go.
And
it's
now,
time for my favorite
moments in building history.
Favorite moment of the show. One day we're going to find out who that voice was. Somebody
such a mystery.
Very cultured and polished. I don't know who was doing that. Well, Allan, it's my turn. It's my turn in the barrel. I like the way we're doing this. We're all bringing kind of our own segments to this, and we try to keep it something that we're all interested in. Well, Viking shipbuilding. Okay, go ahead, Max. Very apropos. That's very good.
Just had to go there.
Yeah.
Had to go there.
Oh, yeah.
And I applaud you.
One of the greatest songs. We don't want to get sidetracked talking about the immigrant song from Led Zeppelin, but that's its own story one day. That's an interesting. But anyway, so Allan, Thorderson, that's my last name. It's been drilled home to me that my ancestors were Vikings since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I grew up reading the Mighty Thor and comic books back in the day. I thought that was a great thing. And I got to be honest, the more I learn about my ancestors, if I'm being brutally honest, Okay,
Yeah, y'all
they
were
were
some jerks.
explorers. They were. But, I mean, let's be honest. They were a bunch of jerks. Now, Okay, maybe the average Viking was out there working on their farm and just chugging along, but they did some pretty bad things. I mean, let's be honest. They're.
I heard their history summed up very well: raiding and trading.
Yeah.
With a little extortion thrown in between.
Well, I mean, so basically they're all about being tough. They remind me a lot of the Klingons from like Star Trek. Their idea of heaven is that when they get to heaven, it's going to be a big battle, right?
Yep.
Valhalla or whatever.
Yep.
I mean, that's the way you want to spend eternity. Knock yourself out. But with that mindset, the ironic thing is they were great shipbuilders. Now, I don't know. Allan, I suppose we could get into the history because they did interact with the Romans. They interacted with inner cultures.
Right.
Go ahead, man.
They even interacted all the way down to Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul, in Turkey. So they would ride their ships through the rivers, European rivers in the eastern part of Europe, all the way down to Constantinople. Well, let's just say that the Byzantines literally fought fire with fire against them. They literally used ancient flamethrowers against them. And they're like, you know what? These Vikings are cool. We're going to hire some of these for our personal guard.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, the thing about it is, so if your business model, I guess for lack of a better term, is raiding places and taking their stuff and maybe enslaving their inhabitants, you need a quick way to. You need a way to get there.
You need transportation.
You need transportation. And the funny thing is, Viking ships are beautiful. I don't even know that I have to describe. I think everybody knows what a Viking ship looks like. They're of different sizes, but the one notable thing is the really artistic curves to the simplicity. It's a very open system. And then a lot of times they had those really awesome sails, like a big, white and red striped sail. So if you saw it coming up, it looks like something from Lord of the Rings. It looks really beautiful. Unfortunately, it's bringing death and destruction with it.
Depending upon how the welcome mat was laid out, is when you were happy to see that sail.
Yeah, but the thing is, they were built. Okay, the way they built them was very interesting because, for one thing, they were very lightweight and they only sat about 3 feet in the water. So if you've got to sneak up to somebody's, beach, you can pull this thing literally right up to the water, jump out, do your whatever you're doing.
Very shallow draft, yes.
Sneak up, and you could. And what it also meant was, if you don't have a giant, is it called a keel, whatever?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, you can travel in rivers. You could have your 100 guys haul this thing, carry it overland to a lake, and raid them through there. Because Scotland, right, is full of the locks and everything like that.
Surprise.
So we want to talk about how they actually built it, because we're talking about carpentry. Allan, what surprised me is, well, for one thing, you would appreciate this. They used the whole tree.
Yeah, they wasted nothing.
So they start, basically, oak, I guess, was their preferred wood, which is very durable, and also it seems like it's rot resistant. Oak is
to a point, yeah.
Yeah, more so than others. So basically they go and they find a nice...
good, solid, hard wood, so it resisted the elements, yeah.
Yeah, so they find a nice straight tree, and then, you have to saw that down. But what I think one of the keys to their success was they... For the keel, I guess I want to use the right term. What is the bottom straight, the very bottom of the ship is, whatever it's called.
Right.
I guess it's the keel.
You're good.
It is made from one solid piece of oak. Well, the way they achieved this was very interesting. They cut the tree with wedges. They got on the end of the tree,
right,
and they start with a small wedge. They slam it in with a sledgehammer. Then they go to a bigger wedge, and as it starts to split, then they go on top of the the curve, and they basically split trees in half and make planks and little, almost like pie-shaped wedges out of, whatever you want to call them, planks, and they make that just strictly using wedges, which I thought was highly interesting. So they have to understand wood grain, and they have to understand, where it's going to split and everything.
And the other thing is they understood how to warp wood.
Bingo. Yeah.
That's, when you really want to get down to it, when you're trying to deal with extremely long pieces of wood. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna relive experiences actually building a pirogue with some friends of mine in Louisiana.
What's that?
Many years ago. The pirogue was the little efficiency boat of the Acadians. So it was your little It was kind of like the early Johnny boat before we had aluminum boats.
Okay.
It was a small, efficient boat.
It was like the fishermen of the day would have just chugged out on one of those things.
Right. You know, you get 3 or 4 guys together and you can make a Piero in a weekend. But the one thing the Piero kind of stole from this earlier ship design was that long single piece of wood.
I almost would call it an establishing thing. Yeah, that's because you're building around a solid foundation.
But it had to be curved.
Right.
And some of them you could cut that way, but a lot of the long boards needed to curve around. And whoever sat around and went, I bet if we boiled this long enough, we could get it to bend around this corner and not break. That is amazing.
Man, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's one of the things that's an art that I got to be honest, we learned a little bit about that when I studied classical furniture design, but I don't see a lot of people doing that anymore.
My question arises okay, yeah, it's easy to bend wood when it comes to making an English longbow because that's a small piece, but how do you bend a giant branch like that with do you have to have rows and rows of fire producing steam and you just rest the board over it?
Oh, go ahead, Allan.
All right, here we go.
Because
you're going to get into a lot of rope work, and you're going to set up basically bathtubs, and you are going to steam it, and you're going to steam it along the length of the area that you want. And every so often, you go tighten and pull it a little more, until you actually achieve the shape you want.
Right.
But you still have all of the strength of that 2 solid inches of oak. And when you take it off of there, you brace it so that as it cools and dries, it retains that shape.
I'm glad my orthodontist didn't have the heat and rope pull method for my teeth.
Well,
but doing that kind of work on this scale,
right,
shows you the artistry because, like you said, they didn't waste wood.
No, they because like I was saying, they cut this first. The first thing they established was they found what was going to make the best keel. I'm calling it a keel. If you're a sailor out there and I'm using the wrong term, call it and tell. But good. Whatever. So the very bottom straight piece is that's what they established. They want that to be one. And if you're ever building, I can tell you this: if you're ever building a patio cover or something like that, you don't just join pieces together. You want that one 16-foot board that's going to. So one solid piece of wood is much stronger. And so, but the curve. It obviously, for one thing, it's very artistic looking. However, it served a function in keeping it stable. This boat does not look to me like it should even work, Allan, but they do. They sail beautifully. It's all based on that curve and the fact that they can keep it where it only rides about 3 feet in the water.
Are there ships these days that use a similar method? Because it's this seems like it could really have really great military applications. You can go long distances, and yet you could still beach right on the shore of an opponent's land.
Right.
Well, you just described most of the amphibious vehicles.
Well, and yeah, exactly. Because you can almost think of this as an amphibious vehicle because it is so much lighter than the standard ships that were going on today. They may have had to carry these things, because they used to bring about 100 people in an average ship like this for a raid, and so you had to be able to maneuver this. And so the design, just making it float is its own thing.
Well,
that's its own brilliance.
I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag you forward in time to some of the most valuable furniture we think of, and that would be a lot of the furniture produced from 1801 to 1901.
Right.
And this is the kind of stuff, collectors go crazy over because it did have these wonderful curves and the artistic inlay and all of these wonderful skills that we got from way back hundreds of years earlier. Much smaller scale, much more refined, but the same techniques.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it involves, curving of wood. The way they attach the planks to each other is interesting. They basically took things that were more or less the size of they were called, it was called clanking, a clanking technique. So they took these big pins, they drove them through both of the boards, which they used tar and hemp to seal them up to make sure they don't leak. And then they clank them. They said, Allan, you have to hit each pin requires about 100 whacks with the sledgehammer to pound it down. So it's almost like a bolt that's not coming out. And these things are still here today. They use copper, they use steel, or they use lots of metals that were resilient to rot. They've uncovered ships that have been buried underground that are still intact and everything. So whoever these carpenters were did a great job. So, and like we say, they were fast, and there's really good evidence that they made it to America way before Columbus or any of the, they probably were here 1,000 years ago. Honestly.
Yeah, one of the greatest land grabs, or I should say real estate scams ever.
Absolutely. So hats off to all the Viking shipbuilders out there that,
but not the marauders.
Helped your countrymen raid and ruin, a lot of culture.
Well,
welcome
to history.
Anyway, you're listening to Tool Talk Radio here at News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Gonna paint our wagon, gonna paint it good. We ain't bragging, we're gonna coat that wood.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
Do you think the Vikings sang that when they were making the long ships?
Well, they were cheerful workers, weren't they? So, Allan, I hate to say it, but, we'll get to that in a minute. But welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Kind of ironic. We're just talking about the Vikings, Allan. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass.
No, I'm in the boat.
In the boat. Yeah, he's on the ship right now. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And, of course, we invite you to go to Tool Talk Radio's Tool Talk Radio on Facebook and check out the action over there. We've got videos. We've got our must-have item of the week posted. And, a minute ago, Allan, we were just talking about our great moments in building history. I brought you this one. This is something growing up, my last name is Thorderson. I kept hearing about my Icelandic heritage. So my mom is 100% Irish. My father's side was Icelandic. And we were always really proud of that because I thought, wow, I was reading Thor comics and I thought the Vikings looked cool. And
it's kind of an odd relationship because Ireland actually represented a really good sacking place for the Vikings because, all these monasteries with defenseless monks and treasure.
Yeah. And then when I learned the brutal history of my ancestors, they were kind of jerks. And so they knew how to make ships, though.
They could make a good boat.
And they made these also, I forgot to mention, they smooth the wood with basically they used like axes or handheld planers and things like that. There was no sandpaper back then. They didn't have table saws. They created these things with basic hand tools, wedges, sledgehammers, axes, and planers, and you had yourself a ship.
But don't forget, they also created these with artisans.
Right.
You had people that were true craftsmen that really knew their job.
Oh yeah, great! They carved those dragon heads, and and I will say the other thing that was interesting in my research was if they were looking, because they used oak trees. If they saw an oak tree that maybe one of the branches had a particularly interesting curve, they used that and they just put that on the ship, and they used the whole tree. So normally I would post a video about our great moments in building history. I couldn't find a definitive video that was either short enough or really hit all the points I wanted. But if you're interested in this, go on YouTube. There's tons of videos you can research in.
I would check out anything by National Geographic.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, Allan, we have we're going to flip this. Max, I didn't warn you, but we have a funny Critter Wars that we want to get to, and I feel like it might get carried away. So before we do that, it's time for our must-have item of the week. Let's get this out of the way.
Oh, you are holding up one of my favorite tools.
Okay.
You have a fine-tooth, and that's important, cross-cut saw.
Yeah, a fine-tooth, thin blade, Allan.
Yes.
How are these people letting you in the building with saws?
I know, I'm walking
You brought
in
in a
hammers,
drill, you brought in a saw.
He's just bringing in weapons.
Security
next week,
around
I'm going to
here
bring
is
a
a little-
brush hook.
Right. Well, these are great because, and this one, if you notice, it has a little bit of a shorter blade. Now, when I was growing up, when I took wood shop and everything, there were cross-cut saws, and for some reason I remember them calling a back saw. I don't know why they even called them that.
Because they cut both forward and back.
Because
it's not because you're using it against somebody's spine.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's a Sawzall.
But if you go to the big box store, as we say, there's rows and rows of things, and you're going to see all sorts of saws. Well, don't just, sometimes when you've got to cut across the grain, it's going to tear it up. If there's what they call a rip saw. Right. There's some saws, it doesn't matter. If you just got to chop something in half, if you're cutting a limb or a 2x4 or something, it doesn't really matter. But if you're cutting across that fine piece of veneer or that little, or a precision piece of or maybe you're just cutting some wood trim or something, the fine tooth blade that we've got here, for one thing, it won't hack up the when it's going across the grain. But also, as you've pointed out, Alan, a lot of saw blades, like especially a power saw blade, they could be 1/8 of an inch or more thick, and that's material you're removing. You may want to make a very minute footprint here. So it's like this just takes just the smallest amount. Also, when it's a thin blade like this, it adds a certain amount of flexibility, which is always important. You may have that little piece of trim that you got to cut at the bottom of the door casing where the blade has to have a little curve. So check it out, folks. It's on it's on the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page, and it's definitely something you want to have in your toolbox. So the fine-tooth, thin-bladed crosscut saw.
There's nothing like the proper tool at the proper job.
Absolutely. So, all right, that was a very civilized discussion, but let's drag things into the deep, Alan. Here we go.
That's the most foul, cruel, and bad-tempered rodent you ever set eyes on. I just wanted to hug.
Oh, rats in the kitchen, just like that delightful movie I taped in the theater.
We haven't had a good Critter Wars in a while, have we, Alan? But this one, is it a war? I guess the critters are...
Well, I'm going to start with the Critter War. Okay. I'm going to audible on you. I got a call this week that said I have something going thump in my outside room.
Okay.
And we go to the outside room. Now, keep in mind, this lady has a nice big dog, too.
Huh.
So, there's a
dog.
It
could have been the dog.
Dog patrols the backyard and all that. Oh, no. We opened up the storage room. We pulled down a couple of boxes, and we found Old Man Possum.
It's a pretty big possum.
This is a
I
big
saw the picture.
Possum.
And you actually took hats off, Alan. You actually took a picture this time.
Got a picture this time.
Did you post it? You better post it.
I sent it to you.
Okay. So I have. All right. Well, I guess we'll post it. But did you name this possum?
No. We just named him You're Going to Be Gone Soon.
Okay.
Here was the easy way to do it. Because it was kind of an odd time of day and I didn't have a pet carrier with me, what we did was make sure to leave the nesting area uncovered and leave the lights on.
Because they don't like that, right?
And left and put the dog up so that he could self-evict himself during the day.
Yeah. And then you played the Barney theme song on loop to just drive him nuts with music and everything else.
We did actually put a little radio out there. So, so they don't like the loud noise. They don't like light. So I mentioned this at this time of year because a lot of teenage animals are now looking for dens.
Well, because the interesting thing to me was the fact of where it wound up. I mean, we don't want them getting in our house. If it's climbing your trees and things like that, I don't know what to tell you. But this got into her house.
Yes.
So she's got a big enough opening for a possum to get in. That's a warning.
Well, that's been repaired.
Okay,
good. It was actually a flap of wood that had come loose. You couldn't tell if you looked at it, but if you pulled on it, obviously he'd been working on it a while and got it to pull up so we could slip under.
It's another reason to walk around your house, and you may see, like you said, a piece of siding. It's only sticking out 1/4 of an inch. Well, have you tested it to see if it flaps open? Because squirrels and possums, they love that retractable situation. They like where they can pull up the piece of siding, get underneath, and it closes behind them.
Oh, yeah.
That's like an ideal scenario.
That's like perfect for them. So, since critters are getting around and looking at stuff, I also want to mention if you have one of those doggy door things.
Right.
With the flap.
Right.
Maybe your cats or dogs go in and out of this. Of other critters.
Yeah.
Other critters like raccoons can go through them. Or if you happen to live in New Zealand, it could be a fur seal.
Okay, Allan, go ahead. Yeah, this is we posted the video on this.
Yes, we did.
Is this breaking news? Did this recently
is like
happen?
pretty much breaking news. This was like, the 19th of August.
Okay, but Allan, because keep in mind, folks, if you're, we always remind people of this, down in the land down under, their seasons are basically the opposite of us. So we're sweltering in heat right now.
Right.
It's chilly. So if you're a seal
it's
or
our
somebody,
fall. It's our fall. It's their spring.
Okay. Well, they're coming out of the winter, right?
Right. So the fur seals and stuff are coming back up to the beaches, and this is where I'm going to point out to everybody from the Mid-South to our listeners in the Dominican Republic, Scotland, and all around the world. You know what? Critters always looking for a house.
Right.
And it doesn't matter who your critters are. They don't necessarily want to move in with you, but we just had a pandemic. Mm-hmm. And for about a year to 2 years, people weren't out in the beaches or in the parks or out interrupting nature. So we got a lot more nature real fast.
Huh.
And those kids are now out looking for houses.
I didn't think of that. I never thought of what COVID might have done with the animal population. Maybe school was out. What if you're a raccoon that's like, gosh, there's this big building and I can set up my headquarters here because it's empty for a year or two.
Look at how wonderful this air conditioning unit is for squirrel condos.
That's a very good point. It changed the dynamic of the way they're.
Yeah, we got we have some pretty record things going on right now. I just saw where fishing tournaments were all canceled for a couple of years, and so humans weren't out in nature as much the last 2-3 years as we were before.
Huh.
So a lot of beaches and stuff didn't get used, so the critters moved back in. And in New Zealand, they're having a little bit of a fur seal resurgence.
Well, this one's funny, too, because the seal, they got video of the seal. Mm-hmm. This was a big news story. It was pretty funny.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know what, seals smell like. I don't know if this is but
they're not unpleasant. But,
the cat was not happy about this.
No. Well, as it turns out, it was early in the morning, and Mom was leaving to go to the gym, and she thought she heard the neighbor's dog bark at her.
Right.
And, well, what it really was the seal diving around the corner and barked at her. But when he went around the corner, he discovered the cat door.
Right.
And they have a very possessive cat who apparently
the cat was not happy about this.
Did not like his new playmate, who managed to lump himself through the cat door and go explore the house.
Yeah.
Of course, when the family comes home, the seal is now trapped and was like running around the house.
But
lumping.
It was like sitting on the couch. It didn't go to the bathroom in the house. Thank goodness.
No, he was very well behaved for a house guest.
Right.
But they actually wound up with kind of a little furry buddy. Eventually the cetacean people came and picked him up and took him back to the beach.
Yeah, but you left. There's an ironic part of this whole thing because the father, I guess, I can't remember if it was the husband or wife, was a marine biologist, and they weren't. They were Dad, the only one not on the scene.
Yeah, Dad was not home. He was out at work, and he was kind of like, this was my one moment at home.
He could have been the hero.
I could have been the man.
That makes me think of that episode of Seinfeld where it's like there was a whale on the beach. He's like, is there a marine biologist anywhere?
Yeah, of all times. I mean, this could have been his heroic moment. He could have,
but
calmed the seal, but instead they had to call the seal removal team, which they probably have in New Zealand.
They actually do.
Is it SEAL Team 6?
Yeah.
Well, they actually they use riot shields.
Right.
Because seals can bite.
Right.
I don't know if people really get that, when you think of like your dog,
mm-hmm.
The big canine teeth and everything, seals' mouths, their heads are built just like that.
Right.
Just like a dog. And they can deliver a nasty, nasty bite.
Right.
So when they're having to, I find it hilarious, when in like New Zealand, they're having to herd jackass penguins, that's what they're really called, or seals out of urban areas, they use like police riot shields,
Right. Yeah.
to keep from getting pecked or bitten.
Oh yeah. If they get mad, stay away. But
They're pretty hilarious.
I will give you credit, Allan. You posted the the video is up there. It's pretty funny, and I think there's a whole bunch of whoever was writing the article was another one of these having fun with the whole. There was so many goofy little phrases they were throwing in there, but it's worth the price of admission.
And let's face it, between having your house invaded by a possum,
right,
that looks a lot like a rat on meth.
Right.
Because, they're not attractive animals.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have your home invaded by the most adorable thing on the planet.
Yeah.
A cute little fur seal. Let's face it, the fur seal does kind of win on some serious cute points.
Well, it's going to help you become a YouTube sensation when you post it, too. You're going to get a lot more
You post a picture
traffic.
of a possum, people go, oh, my gosh, look at that giant rat.
Right.
You post a picture of a baby seal.
Sitting on your couch watching TV.
Eating Cheetos with you, going, hey, watch this, the Animal Channel.
Yeah.
They're just adorable. And apparently, he was very calm. He wasn't aggressive. For a wild animal that got loose in your house, he was amazingly chilled and groovy.
Yeah, absolutely. So
folks, the family's kind of like, well, kind of hate to see him go.
If you've got any great critter stories, send those over. And like we say, you can go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the video. But we're always bringing in the stories, but I'd like to hear a really unusual one, And like we say, it is a warning tale. Those cat flaps, a lot of creatures can get in them,
Raccoons love them.
Loose siding, loose. I mean, it doesn't take much room for a squirrel to get in.
Loose shingles, anything behind the gutters.
Right.
Oh my gosh, so easy to get into.
Yeah. Allan, I'm going to throw you a curve because I sometimes when it comes to suggested viewing. I've got a suggested viewing for you. It's a little out of the box. Sometimes you poo-poo them because you don't maybe know my motivation, but I've been sort of, I don't know if I've been binging it, but like it's become sort of a comfort video, comfort whatever watch for me. I've been watching these videos on YouTube. Rick Steves, the guy that works for PBS, he's got the best job in the world. He travels to everywhere in the world and he does videos about them.
Right.
Okay, you're saying, well, a travel thing, why does that matter? Well, Rick Steves, for one thing, the videos are very relaxing. They're always interesting. You learn something. What I've discovered though, watching these videos, he is very interested in architecture. He's very interested in he'll go, this church was built 2,000 years ago. It's a whatever, and the rafters such and such, and he seems to have an interest in it. And what I find was when you watch these, when you see architecture around the world, it gives you new perspective, and it also gives you new ideas, new design concepts for your home today. And I think that's always a good thing, keeping kind of an open mind as to how they do it around the rest of the world.
I've seen a few of those shows. They're actually really quite nice. And I tell you what always gets me is when you look at some of this really fantastic work that you see on a building from 700 years ago.
Right.
No electricity, no power tools, no Dremel, no 3D casting, no lasers. No, you think about all the modern trappings that we use for stuff, and no, it was a couple of artisans sitting around going, I bet we can make that round.
Right.
And then it just turns out, that it survives 700, 800, 900 years later.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Well, in a lot of these places he goes, like if, for example, he recent video I watched, he went to Italy and Venice and things like that. And what they deal with out there is, okay, well, some of these buildings and some of these, bridges and structures were built almost 2,000 years ago or something. But they have to still function within a modern society, and they still have to, they may have to be upgraded or they have to be preserved. And man, you learn a lot about how to preserve your home. I mean, it's worth it. I think it's worth the trip to, it's worth the, I just feel like you should be open-minded. That's all.
When we were talking about the pagodas not too long ago, and you look at how they were designed to minimize the amount of water that ever could invade the building.
Right.
And thus preserved I believe the Pagoda we were talking about was hundreds of years old.
Right.
1,300.
1,300. There you go. You get into
a wooden structure, 1,300 years old.
Well,
pretty impressive.
Here's kind of a funny thing. I have a number of friends as we love to say, across the pond. So, all right, all you guys in Liverpool, you're getting a huge shout out. So, the funny thing is, though, a house, what we think is old over here, to them is almost a giggle because
they're sitting in a pub that was 500 years old.
Exactly.
Right.
This, you ask them, a member of your family built this building, and they look at you and they say, yes, they did. And you go, wow, was it like your grandfather, your great-grandfather? Which the American mind, we think back maybe 100, maybe 200 years.
Right.
And they're like, no. My family immigrated in here 800 years ago.
Right.
And we built this, and we've been changing out the thatch ever since. And, we were going to dig a pool, but we hit a Roman structure in the backyard. And you're like, that's just astounding.
Yeah.
That, that could happen. So,
yeah. So I recommend it.
I do love watching shows that explore that stuff.
Rick Steves, like we said, you can watch it with your kids. It's totally family friendly, very interesting, perfect length. They're like 20, 25 minutes long. Good. You get it, and it'll make you think. And it's just it's just new concepts, and it's we're all about that. So, well, Allan, speaking of watching things that'll provide you new concepts and everything, what's going on with darkoakmedia.com this week? So.
Wow, we have just been busy little campers. We have new episodes of It Came from the International Market. If you've never seen the show before, it works like this. The evil producer goes shopping at an international market, and his lucky, wonderful volunteers
Victims.
get to try it. They use that victim word a lot.
Yeah.
It's a great way of just kind of, in a very humorous way, exploring some of the stranger snack foods from around the world.
And torturing people.
Yeah.
Well, they are my friends. So also we've got new episodes of CC Entertainment Spotlight coming up, and a bunch more stuff coming really soon.
What does CC stand for?
It was the convention circuit. So when we go out to things like Covington Comic Con, or we go to the Italian Festival, we bring a film crew, and they get to run around and have various misadventures, and in a lovely and heartfelt way, celebrate all that stuff we go do.
Oh, yeah. And I should mention, since Allan teed it up perfectly, after the show, you and I are heading over to Covington, which is about, 45-minute drive from Memphis, Covington Comic Con, and it's at the Covington Community Center, and it's year 2. We were at the first one. And it's a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of geek activities. You could probably go to their Facebook page and learn more. But we'll be there promoting, among other things, Tool Talk Radio, the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention. So check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going on today and tomorrow. So, all right, Allan, in terms of my promotion this week, I want to remind people that, carpentry's my game. Thor's Hammer is the name for my company and everything. But if you've got any outdoor projects, and now I'm wondering, maybe I need to venture into some shipbuilding too. I don't know.
Oh, I'm so down with that.
Okay. Anyway, but you can get in touch with me if you have any interesting outdoor projects, decks, pergolas, patio covers, whatever. You can call me directly at 901-921-7105 or go to my website, thorshomes.com. And folks, we want to remind you, we really love these voice messages. I hope we keep them coming because we want to react to what you're concerned about. So you can call. The Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline. You can send a text any day of the week with your requests at 901-683-0989 or leave a voice message on my phone at 901-921-7105, and we'll do a deep dive. Well, Allan, we've dove deep today, but it's time to get out of here. We've had you've been listening to another action-packed episode of Tool Talk Radio. So on behalf of my buddy Allan Gilbreth and our pal Max over there behind the glass, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening to Tool Talk Radio, and we'll see you next week.